Hello and welcome back to Death of the Record. About a month ago now, I did a video where I reacted to Mike Love and the Beach Boys, it wasn't really the Beach Boys, playing live in front of the Capitol building on July 4th. Personally, I found the performance to be quite horrific. Some of you guys seem to agree with me. Others thought that it was an insult that I didn't know Mark McGrath and John Stamos by name. I'm not entirely convinced that some of those comments weren't from a Mike Love burner account. Can't be proved either way. For those people who said I didn't give Mike Love a fair showing, maybe this video will prove an opportunity to do that, and I'm going to react to the Beach Boys Hall of Fame induction speech. Without further ado, let's get that video up. First of all, some context for this video if you guys aren't aware of what's going on. Essentially, this was the Beach Boys being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alongside Bob Dylan and the Beatles. So three huge names in rock and roll music over the past century, all being inducted on the same night. Now, some people weren't at that ceremony. Paul McCartney, for example, was absent because of an ongoing lawsuit with Ringo Starr and Yoko Ono. Essentially, this seemed to really wind up Mike Love. Let's play the clip and you'll see how Mike Love reacts to the fact that Paul McCartney wasn't at the ceremony.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame proud. And 27 years from now, I'd like to come back and get re-inducted all over again.
It's just nice, isn't it? Brian's just a nice man. Okay, now here comes Kyle.
I've been asked to say a few words on behalf of our beloved Dennis, who's gone. And this would have thrilled him beyond belief. And so, from Dennis Wilson, I thank you. Thank you.
So that's lovely, and rest in peace, Dennis. And maybe this is the reason that Mike Love's so pissed off, and as we'll see very soon, because Mike Love and Dennis's relationship was notoriously testy, to put it mildly. Dennis actually had a child with Mike Love's illegitimate daughter, a fact that Mike Love, I think, still denies to this day. But that relationship was certainly complex, so maybe that's what wound up Mike.
You heard from Cousin Brian the reason why we started making music, and the reason
here we fucking go.
And it sounds corny, but you can hear it in the harmonies, those of you who are musicians. And the reason why people like the Beach Boys is because we love harmony. We love music and we love harmony. And
okay, so we start fairly reasonably, and there's nothing wrong with celebrating harmony and unity.
And I think it's wonderful to be here tonight, but I also think it's sad.
Okay, this is where it takes a turn. Let's go.
Here tonight are people like Paul McCartney, who couldn't be here tonight
because
he's in a lawsuit with Ringo and Yoko. Now that's a bummer, because we're talking about harmony, right, in the world. If we can't get it together in America and in England in harmony within our groups, I mean, believe it. You can believe it, the Beach Boys have...
So this is what I don't get. He's talking about harmony within the groups, which is a reasonable point to make. And yet Mike Love, a couple of years after this, sued Brian Wilson, got in a legal battle with Al Jardine as well, notoriously had difficulties within his group. So to preach harmony and unity in your Hall of Fame induction speech and then not live by it, that I think is what pisses people off.
The Beach Boys have continued to do we did about 180 performances last year. I'd like to see the mop tops match that.
Okay, so the mop tops obviously referring to the Beatles, and then it just starts to become very aggressive. This is hilarious because it cuts to Julian Lennon. This is Julian Lennon here, John's son with Cynthia, and he just kind of picks up a cigarette, lights it, and goes on with his day. No reason for Mike Love to take a shot at the Beatles there, and then it gets worse. He now takes a shot at Mick Jagger.
On stage and do "I Get Around" versus Jumpin' Jack Flash any day now.
So this is the bizarre thing about Mick Jagger is, okay, you can understand why he might be beefing with the Beatles because Paul McCartney wasn't there for legal reasons. He was suing Ringo Starr and Yoko Ono, fine. Mick Jagger was at this ceremony. I don't think Mike Love doesn't realise at this point. Mick Jagger gets up onto the stage later. So him taking shots at Mick Jagger as if he's, not displaying harmony and unity is really bizarre. So he obviously has something against Mick Jagger. But carry on.
Now a lot of people are going to go out of this room tonight thinking that Mike Love is crazy. I don't care what anybody in this room thinks. You know when they were talking about this guy with the guitar? Arlo's father?
Okay, so who do you think he's talking about? He doesn't know who this guy... I wonder who he's referring
Guthrie,
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Woody Guthrie, probably one of the most foundational figures to American popular songwriting. Weird for him to forget that, but carry on.
Well, I knew that. Because my
did you, Mike? Did you,
father used to sing some of those songs. And I'd like to see some people kick out the jams, and I'd challenge the boss to get up on stage and jam.
So just calls out the boss, calls out Springsteen. So this is the moment in the speech where he just goes into like spray mode and starts firing from the hip at random people for whatever reason. The boss gets implicated. Don't really know what he's got to do with it, but God bless Springsteen. Okay. So in the background you can hear that almost like a theremin sound. So that's Paul Schaefer, who was playing the music for that evening. He starts playing their part in Good Vibrations with the theremin to try and play him off the stage. It's never a good sign if you're at an awards evening and you're making a speech, whether that's the Academy Awards or the BAFTAs or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Once the band or the music starts playing and you're still doing your speech, that is a sign that things have either gone wrong, you've either stayed on too long, or you're talking shit. Once the music comes up, get off stage. But anyway, Paul Schaefer tries to play off Mike Love and doesn't manage to do so successfully.
I want to see Billy Joel, see if he can still tickle ivories. Let me see.
Now Billy Joel's getting called out. I would love Billy Joel.
I know Mick Jagger won't be here tonight. He's
And
gonna
Mick
have
Jagger,
to stay
he was
in
there.
England, but I'd like to see us
Mick Jagger was there.
in the Coliseum and Wembley Stadium because
Paul
he's
Schaefer's
always
still
been
going in the
chicken
background.
shit to get on stage with the Beach Boys.
Thank fuck he didn't mention me.
And then Elton comes out and says, thank fuck he didn't mention me. I love Elton John. Right, look, there's two ways of looking at this, because you can look at it kindly, which is that Mike Love had something genuine to say, which is that he didn't like the way that groups were infighting, and there was all these legal battles, like with Paul McCartney and Apple Corp and Ringo that I was talking about earlier. And I agree with him. That's a very fair point. What's strange is that he said all that and then proceeded to engage in legal battles with his bandmates in the Beach Boys. And two was just the tone. You know, when people in their last video got annoyed with me insulting Mike Love, I have nothing against him as a musician. His voice was integral to the Beach Boys music. He had some really important lyrical contributions, some important songwriting contributions. And if Mike Love had just kind of been a bit humble and had some humility and been thankful for his career and what the Beach Boys have achieved, I think people would have a lot of respect for Mike Love and his part in music. What winds people up is this attitude he seems to have and this idea that he's more significant than he really is, because it's Brian Wilson, it's Carl Wilson, even Dennis, that for me are what brings me joy when listening to the Beach Boys. It's not really Mike Love. Anyway, after this point, Bob Dylan actually came onto the stage later and said that he wanted to thank Mike Love for not mentioning him, which is amusing. Ringo Starr at a later date was asked, what do you think of what Mike Love said? And he said, I don't ever listen to what he has to say. Carl Wilson, when he went off stage, apparently came up to Paul Schaefer, handed him the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame award and just said, our career is over. All I'll say is this is the last video that Death of the Record does about Mike Love. So anyone who wants to defend him, do so in the comments. I'm happy to hear that. I won't be talking about him again. I think that's enough Mike Love for a lifetime, really. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and see you soon.